Hello, my name is Dimitri, and this is CA2 Brief Overview. So, game attributes. Game is going to be dedicated for achievers, killers, explorers, and the socializer part will be included when we're gonna actually make a single player, like convert single player game into multiplayer game. But for now, it's gonna be for people that like to kill monsters, like explore some areas and level up and get great loot. Exciting. Game is set in a little mountain area where travelers pass by a camp and find themselves trapped because once they step outside the camp, a horde of monsters are waiting for them. So the game itself is not gonna have any narratives or like you won't communicate to any players or like NPCs because this game is just like for walking around and just like explore, kill, and that's it. There is no story behind it. So player attributes. Then they're pretty simple. Like there's names, IDs, passwords, like everything you need like for a mod game, like life, strength, agility. Then like inventory will have all the objects in them, and then I have just two slots for one for weapon and one for armor. Then the item attributes. Each item has a name, cost, what type of item that is. Like a weapon has like low and high damage, armor has a defense. The scrolls have like the quantity and they can just teleport you back to town, and potion just restore your health. And enemy attributes again, it's all the simple things like names, the type of a monster is gonna be like if it's a boss or just a special type of monster. Then for weapon, I'm not giving them slots for weapons. It's just gonna be a name because I don't want to load like another object or create another object. I'm just gonna give them a unique name for the weapons and just high and low damage, and they're gonna stick to those weapons. And then just like the amount of experience it's gonna give me if I kill it and the gold. Enemy spawning. Each map will be updated like every minute or half a minute, and it's gonna check like if like the amount of monsters that are on the map, because like each map is gonna have like a vector and the maximum amount of number of monsters that allowed to be on the map. And so like when it's gonna check if, for example, there's on the maximum amount is allowed 5 and there's only 3, it will spawn another 2 monsters and add them into the vector. And the map itself is going to consist of ASCII symbols in a grid form where players will be able to see themselves and monsters that occupy the map. Also, we'll be able to see possible exits on the map and where those exits lead to. So just like to show you how it looks like, it's still a prototype. It's not actually a finished game, but there's like a grid form map, and if like we see there's the south, so we move towards the south, and then just gonna load another map and show other exits where they lead to. So that's gonna be the map. Special rooms again. There will be like a timer, and let's say every maybe minute, 2 or 3 minutes, there will be a generated random number, and if it says like there's a 10% chance to spawn the special room, and if like we rolled like out of 100, the randomly generated number will be 10. So there we go. Let's spawn the special room. So like an ASCII character like I don't know, a T would be like a teleport to somewhere else. So that's that's how it could work. Then stored items, like on the map itself there may be like a character M, so, which is a merchant, and then like once you go over it there'll be like a shop function executed, and it'll show you like if you want to buy or sell items, and then there'll be different like sections like weapons and armors. So that's the way it's gonna work. And combat system. Combat system is not going to be overly complicated. Agility will be the main stat in the player that will determine the chance of successful hit or the dodge. Also, it was mentioned in the class that someone had an idea of like the faster you type in a command, the greater damage will be dealt. So this feature could be included as well, and there'll be a pseudo code at the end like to explain how the combat system will work. Then recognizable commands by the player will be like move, go, like to move around the map. Status, just to check like its level, experience, life, and everything. Like equip will be like spawn an inventory system will like ask you what you want to equip. Use, again same thing, but to use an item like a potion or a scroll. Unequip, like put the armor or weapon back into your inventory. Inventory will just show you everything in the inventory. And the attack is gonna be like when you're in the battle, like you can attack the enemy. Like drop, you can like drop an item and escape. Just escape from the battle, but it's gonna be a chance. Like same as attack, it's all about a chance. And then gods and admins, like kill. You'll be able to kill players by just typing in their names if you want to. Ban the player. Then disconnect, you can disconnect the player. Shut down, like shut down the server. Promote, so you can make one of the players like an admin or a god as well. And give, and just you probably can give an item to a player. And so far that's the only commands I could think of. How the players connect to the game. So, well, let's say there's like 2 or 3 players that want to play the game. One of them gonna have to run the server and just like give the IP addresses to the other guys, so or the girls, so they could connect to the server. The logger. The logger will be very handy to use in order to keep track of people who violate others by sending inappropriate messages. Like the main events that going have to be logged is the messages that will be sent across in order to see if the players are trying to break the server or just abuse other players or trying to flood the server, so they could be banned if needed. Then what can we do like if the server crashes? Like to prevent losing big amount of data, like big amount of process that people have done so far in the game. Like every 10 minutes there'll be a save function called, so everyone could save their like progress. And the idea was like to keep 2 copies of a save file, so every 10 minutes like there's 1 copy, the next 10 minutes is going to be the second copy, then next 10 minutes is going to be the first copy, and it's going to be overwritten, and so on. So this way, like if server crashes in the middle of save, then at least there is 1 copy to go back. The parser will take the entered information from the player and take in the first word that will determine what type of command player is trying to execute. So like the long command is the player is going to type in is going to be split into strings, into array of strings, and then the first one, like if it's like move, then it's going to go into like if statement if it's a move, and then there's another if statement, like if it's west it'll go west, and so on. The game architecture, which handlers I'm going to need. Well, the main handler is gonna be the main game loop itself, then the update process of the map, then time checking system, which will execute some functions like health regeneration and map updates. So like I'm not entirely sure if I need like a handler for the map itself, but for time it's definite, because it will execute like amounts of like updates for like map regeneration and what else now. And another handler like in the future will be for the chat system, because we don't want the game to be stuck like while somebody's trying to type in something. The protocol we're gonna use is gonna be TCP, because so far that's the one we learned, so that's what's gonna be used. So the functions that I'm gonna use that we covered in the class. So from the basic lib, the logger will be used like for functions for saving and decorating text files and create log files, because like it seems like it's really handy for it. Like the string itself is going to be used for a parser, like for trimming white spaces, which is like really handy because like occasionally people like press like 3 or 4 spaces by accident or for fun and see what's going to happen with the server, so the string function will be really handy. Then time will be used to keep track for how long the server has been running, execute time-based functions used in log and save text files. Then the socket lib, well, use the socket itself, like will be used to set up server and establish TCP connections to it. Set will be used so that multiple sockets could be created on the server side in order to allow more people to connect to it, as there might be cases where internet providers might block certain sockets and people won't be able to connect to the server, so we want to prevent that and use the set function. The errors itself, that would be just handy to know, like what happens, like what prevented the game to be started, or what was the crash reason, like was it the server fault or the client fault. System will be used to find out IP addresses in order to be able to ban players that violate rules in the game or like trying to crash the server, so that'll be handy. Threadlib, well, threadlib itself is going to be the handler, so we're going to use the create function to create the actual thread, wait to finish, so we could execute the thread, and so it could execute the other like functions and commands we're going to tell it to. And mutex will be used to lock certain functions to restrict the handlers to execute them. Like, let's say like the player is in a fight and we want the regeneration function to be locked while he's in the fight, and after the fight is done we can lock it. And the pseudocode for parser, so like we have a message and the message itself is move west, and then so we parse the message into the parser, and then it's going to take the message and split it into single strings and return a string array, so it will check what was the first word, what's the second. But it might be a bad case as well, because people might just try to crash the server and try like type in something like that, so it'll be like a bit of a waste of time to split every single, like to split that message into single like strings. So we might just take, first of all, like split it into two strings, like first is going to be the first command, and then the rest is going to be the rest of the strings. So then we're going to take the messages and check if what's the first word that the person typed in. So like in this example it's move, so if it's true, then well, we move on and see what's the second word, like west, so then we execute code for moving player to the west. But like I said before, like people could type in stuff like that, and it's not gonna be like really useful to like keep executing the parser, like so it will like split it into strings. So we're just gonna split it once. It's gonna be first part, and all the rest, whatever the person typed in, is gonna be the second part of the message. And then we can pass it in here. Like if the first message was valid, then we can take the excuse me, the second part of the message and split it again. So just we could like save some time, and I think that would be the handy way to do it. But like in general, it's gonna just take the whole string that the person typed in and just split it into separate strings. So this is the pseudocode for attack. So in the attack, we're gonna take players and enemies agility, do calculations to determine the number that has to be generated in order to make a successful hit. So then we generate a random number, so random number between like two numbers, and if it's higher or equal to the chance of attack, we return true. If not, it would return false. So in the state, when we're in combat, so player types in like attack, so if the command, well, that one should be like 0 is attack, and if we like return true, then we like go enemy perceived damage, and it's gonna be random between low damage and high damage, which my weapon is gonna have. And in the received damage function, there will be other calculations done that will tell on the amount of damage absorbed due to the armor. And I think it's kind of the easy way to go for this kind of attacking. Don't know if it has to be even like overcomplicated, so I think this way is gonna work. Then the last thing to cover is the UML diagrams. So there is like the diagram for the main part of the game, like the main loop. So there's going to be a map index, which is gonna just keep track. Like I'm gonna have a vector of maps, so it's gonna be easy to tell. Like instead of searching like the name where I'm in on the map in order to update it, I'm just gonna use an index so we can keep track of it. So there's gonna player, the states, like if I'm shopping or just like resting, this is gonna be like the states, and the states will determine which functions I can execute. Then have the timer, which can be used for like function that has to be executed depending on the time that has passed. And for now, there's gonna be just timer thread that's gonna run it on its own and execute its own functions, because like time can be stopped like in the reality, so it just gonna have to go like without even waiting for me to type in commands, just gonna do like whatever it has to do. Like, and the way, because it's like weirdly ordered commands, because like in the Microsoft Office, not Microsoft Office, Visual Studio, like it reorders everything in alphabetical order, so it's maybe a bit weird to read that way, but that's the way it is. Check and execute will just execute the commands that were passed in. Create an account explains itself to create a new account. Initiate battle, it's like when you step over like an enemy or that comes close to you, there'll be a fight between the two of you. Like initiate training, where you can like go to the trainer in the town and you can like increase your vitality, strength, or agility. Like you load monsters, load player, log in, log out. The parser is gonna like take in the command and split it into strings. And you can save the player, update the game. Which like in update the game, I was thinking just like to include some of the functions, like to keep it near in the main game loop, and like visit merchant's shop. When you step over the M, which is gonna be the shop. Like in the map, I'm gonna have like the difficulty of the map, so we will tell like what level monster that could be spawned in this map, like or between levels. So it's gonna have maximum amount of monsters, height and width, and the vector map of the monsters, so you could keep track how many monsters are there right now, like when they were killed, and the maximum amount of monsters. And the functions for the map will be like load maps and populate the map. It's gonna be just like execute like to update the amount of monsters, to print the map, set up the map. Like the setup the map, it's called because like in this example, like the width and height of the map was like 10 by 5, so it's just gonna run like a loop that will set up like the ASCII values that is needed for the map, and then just update. Then I'm gonna have one utility class. Like at the moment, I could have just think of 4 functions I'm gonna use in the utility class. Like check destination diameter. Like let's say like when I change the maps, and if the monster is just at the entrance, I want to check if I actually move there, and what's gonna happen when I'm gonna move there, or should like move not to the front of the exit, but to the left of it. CA2 color is gonna be used to like color code like players' position, like and merchants, monsters, the map itself. Like the color, like gonna be easier to read everything. Help, just gonna print out helpful commands. A random number, just gonna generate a random number. Like there was like, I think in the basic lib there was a random number generator, but I think it was like overly complicated or something, so I just used my own, but I might use the random number as well that is supplied in basic lib, but for now like it works to, like with this one, because I only need like generate random number for my like weapons, and like the generate number if I can successfully attack. So the next UML diagram is for the character. Like I'm not gonna go into the attributes because they were explained before in this document, so I'm just gonna like explain the functions. Like most of my functions are void at the moment because I'm not entirely sure like what are they gonna return or something when it's gonna actually be coming to the coding the game. So for now they're just mostly void. So move character is just explains like it's move character, like actually not just moves, it actually checks if I can move there. So if I'm just above the map, like, or below the map, and I don't want to go over the border. Print character info, it's just gonna print like names, agility, life, and position. So the functions for the player: attack, well, just attacks if he's like successful or not. Buy item, like you can buy items. It's gonna like add the item into your like inventory, like if you're at the merchant shop. Change locations, like when you step on the S letter, which is like for sales, and it's gonna check for like what's the next map, like once you step on the S. And drop item, you drop item from your inventory. Equip item, you can equip it, like level up check, if like every time you kill a monster, like you'll be checking like if you're reached the next level or not. Load the player, like you move around the map. Print character info again, because like it's gonna be like a virtual function, so it's gonna add more information for the player once it's gonna be executed. Like it won't show the password, but it'll show like what's in your weapon slot and armor slot. Then like you receive the damage, you generate health, you can rest, like save player, sell item, set position, entrance, like the way it was working before, like when you move to the next map, it's gonna appear at the entrance, so that's the function for it. Train, where you redistribute like your points that you have earned, and use item, like you could just use a potion or scrolls. So then the functions for the monster, like same, it attacks the player, you can drop the loot, you can just get a defense and then get it like high and low damage, reload the monsters, and reprint the character info again, like when we're gonna be in the fight. And might be as well, like if you're like the same level as the monster, you're gonna be able to see all of its like stats, like how much health he has, like how much he's left. And if you're like below its level, like it might just show like like question marks, like, or like you're below its level, so you don't know much about it, or until like you kill it. So the last UML diagram is for the object. So then again, like attributes were explained before, and the functions are pretty like easy. Like the get cost, like the cost of the item, name, type, like print items info and the cost, and the rest of just like the weapon, armor, they inherit everything from the object. And then there is a miscellaneous item that is inherits from the object, and there's scroll and potion that inherits from the miscellaneous item. So it's a bit of messing around like with the inheritance and see how it's gonna work. And so like the weapon itself, it's really easy. Like it loads the weapons and returns high and low damage. Like miscellaneous, the armor, it just gets defense and loads the armors. Unless I can actually make a function that can in the object that can load everything in one go, but from last year I don't think it was possible, or it was maybe too complicated to do. So in the miscellaneous item, like since they can have quantity, it's gonna be check quantity. Like I say, if I actually have that item, it's gonna like increase the quantity, or when you use it, it's gonna decrease it, or just remove the item once it's 0. So get quantity and then set quantity, and the scroll loads the scrolls and then it teleports you to town. Nothing special about it. And potion, it's gonna have like the amount of health it can restore, and potion strength, just for like just more for the reference, like the strength of the potion. And then you load the potions and it like returns the amount of like health it can restore. Actually, maybe I don't even need the potion strength, because it's just gonna be like how much it restores itself, but it's there. But I might get rid of it if I don't need it. And that is it. Thank you.